Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha and you're watching SAMAA News. Here are today's headlines. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has said that his country is winning the conflict in Iran and can continue fighting as long as needed. During a Pentagon briefing, he said Iran could not outlast the US and that it was the US that sets the tone and tempo of the fight. Hegseth also said that US forces had killed an Iranian official accused of heading a unit behind an alleged assassination plot against President Donald Trump, though he said the target was not the original focus of the war. Separately, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs Dan Kane said that Iran is firing fewer missiles as the war progresses, adding that US strikes will now expand further inland. At least 80 people were killed when an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship in international waters off southern Sri Lanka. Sri Lankan officials believe 180 people were on board the frigate Iris Dina when it was attacked. They said the incident occurred outside its waters, but launched search and rescue operations after receiving a distress call, adding that 32 survivors were rescued and taken to hospital in Gaul. A ballistic missile fired from Iran and heading into Turkish airspace after passing Syria and Iraq has been destroyed by NATO air and missile defence systems in the eastern Mediterranean Sea. The Turkish Defence Ministry said that there were no casualties or injuries in incident, adding that Turkey reserves the right to respond to any hostile actions against it, while warning parties to refrain from steps that could escalate the conflict. On the other hand, operatives from Iran's Ministry of Intelligence have signalled openness to the US Central Intelligence Agency to talks on ending the war. The New York Times reported, citing officials briefed on the matter, that the offer was made through an unnamed country's spy agency. The report said officials in Washington are skeptical as to whether Iran or the Trump administration is really ready for an off-ramp, at least in the short term. Iranian Kurdish militias have consulted with the United States in recent days about whether and how to attack Iran's security forces in the western part of the country. According to 3 sources with knowledge of the matter, the Iranian Kurdish coalition of groups based on the Iran-Iraq border in the semi-autonomous region of Iraqi Kurdistan has been training to mount such an attack in hopes of weakening the country's military as the United States and Israel pound Iranian targets with bombs and missiles. The sources said the goal would be to create room for Iranians opposed to the Islamic regime to rise up now that Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei and other top officials have been killed since the US-Israeli attack began on Saturday. The US military has confirmed the deaths of 4 American soldiers in the escalating war against Iran, marking the first confirmed US military casualties. The Pentagon identified the 4 soldiers as members of an Iowa-based Army Reserve unit killed when a drone struck a US military facility in Port Shuaibah, Kuwait, on Sunday. A total of 6 US military personnel have died so far in the ongoing conflict. The 4 who have been identified ranged in age from 20 to 42 and served in the 103rd Sustainment Command, which is part of the Army's global logistics and supply operations. On the other hand, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has stressed the need for keeping a cool head over the Middle East conflict, acknowledging public concern about the escalation. Speaking in Parliament after fresh criticism from President Trump, Starmer said UK-US military coordination in the region reflected the special relationship in action. He said Britain had been liaising closely with Washington and had pre-deployed assets including air defence systems, counter-drone capabilities and F-35 fighter jets. The White House is convening senior executives from top US defense contractors, including Lockheed Martin and RTX/Raytheon, to accelerate weapons production after recent strikes on Iran and other military operations have depleted stockpiles. Officials say the meeting, scheduled for Friday, will focus on restoring US munitions inventories and ensuring key weapons like Tomahawk cruise missiles are produced faster. The Pentagon is preparing a roughly $50 billion supplemental budget to fund replenishment and increase annual missile output to 1,000 units. That's all for now. For more updates, visit www.SAMAA TV. Thank you for watching SAMAA News.